Dana Praja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacharya Astotra Satusri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayom Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacharya Astotra Satusri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananti Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Nigidi Gopinath Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Yamuna Mayi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Shuka Uvacha Swanam Vibhishanaschakre Koshalendra Numoditaha Yitra Medha Vidhanena Yad Uktam Samparayakam Sri Shuka Uvacha Swanam Vibhishanaschakre Koshalendra Numoditaha Pitra Medha Vidanena Yad Uktam Samparayakam Sri Shuka Uvacha Swanam Vibhishanas Chakre Koshalendra Numoditaha Itra Medha Vidhanena Yad Uktam Samparayakam Ladies, Sri Shuka Uvacha. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Swanam, of his own family members, Vibhishan, the brother of Ravana Vibhishan, and devotee of Lord Ramachandra, Chakre, executed, Koshal Indra Anumodita, approved by the king of Koshala, Lord Ramchandra, Pitrameda Vidanena, by the funeral ceremony performed by the son after the death of his family or some family member. Very good. Yat Uktam which have been prescribed. Samparayakam, duties to be performed after a person's death to save him from the path to hell. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Vibhishan, the pious brother of Ravana and devotee of Lord Ramchandra, received approval from Lord Ramchandra, the king of Koshala. Then he performed the prescribed funeral ceremonies for his family members to save them from the path to hell. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. After giving up the body, one is transferred to another body. But sometimes, if one is too sinful, he is checked from transmigrating to another body, and thus he becomes a ghost. To save a diseased person from ghostly life, the funeral ceremony or Shraddha ceremony, as prescribed in authorized Shastra, must be performed. Ravana was killed by Lord Ramchandra and was destined for hellish life. But by Lord Ramchandra's advice, Vibhishan, Ravana's brother, performed all the duties prescribed in relation to the dead. Thus Lord Ramchandra was kind to Ravana, even after Ravana's death. Om Agyantimidandasya Jnananjanat Salakaya Chakshuru Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Patakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahakana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahakana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanka Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanshakalpatarubhyascha Asindubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Vibhishan, the pious brother of Ravana and devotee of Lord Ramchandra, received approval from Lord Ramchandra, the king of Koshala, Then he performed the prescribed funeral ceremonies for his family members to save them from the path to hell. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, entitled The Pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, Text 29. In the previous verses, we find Mandodari and the wives of Ravana coming to mourn over the death of their husband. And in today's verse, the story of Vibhishan performing the last rites to Ravana on Lord Ramachandra's instruction. In South India, a very common name for beautiful young girls who are intimately loved by their parents is Mandodari. But I believe it's very rare that any beautiful young boys loved by their parents are named Ravana. Why is this? They were husband and wife. You would think they would be given equal positions of appreciation. Because after all, Mandodari was completely chaste and faithful to Ravana. Yet she's considered one of the most magnificent examples of chastity by which girls follow in the footsteps of. And Ravana is just the opposite. Practically everything about him is what we're supposed to overcome and somehow or other transcend. Mandodari was the daughter of Mayadanava, who was also a very powerful personality, who was the architect and a great mystic who would help the Asuras. And Ravana, so powerful, just to pacify him, Mayadanava gave his very beautiful daughter in marriage, Mandodari. She was always pious, always righteous, attached to Dharma, but yet faithfully served her husband. Mandodari was one of the people who was again and again pleading with Ravana, return Sita to Ram. I'll do anything for you. But this is not right. But he would not listen. And in the end, even though Ravana did defy Mandodari's wish or appeals, and he died because of that, as a chaste wife, Mandodari was yearning from her heart in separation from Ravana. How does that fit in our logical, psychological framework? It seems quite inconceivable. And today's verse, Vibhishan, we find he was also instructing, pleading, arguing with Ravana, trying to convince his older brother to return Sita. But still, Vibhishan was faithful to his brother, stood at his side through all those years until finally his brother rejected him. And he was also weeping and crying upon Ravana's death. So these are great mysteries. The Vedas definitely are not about stereotyped personalities. The substance of these people is something very inconceivable to understand, but the study of it really awakens our bhakti and opens our minds to what is a Vaishnava. Vaishnavara kriya mudra vigyena bhujai. It's very difficult to understand the mind of a Vaishnava. And Vibhishan is one such person. A little background. Pulastya Muni, who was born of Lord Brahma, one of the greatest of ancient sages, performed great tapasya, had tremendous powers, was one of the leaders of society and dharma for all time. His son was Vishrava. Vishrava was also a very pious man. He was doing great tapasya. He was a Brahmin. Son of Pulastya Muni, grandson of Lord Brahma. Bhardraj Muni, another great sage, gave his own beloved daughter to Vishrava in marriage. And they had a most pious child. His name was Kubera. And he performed tapasya. In those days, this is the Treta Yuga, tapasya was a very important part of one's spiritual foundation in life. Or even if one wasn't spiritual, one would perform tapasya to get potency and abilities to succeed in life. So Kuvera, he pleased Lord Brahma with his austerities. And Lord Brahma gave him a benediction that he could be Lord of a world. And he was so pleased, he gave Kuvera the Pushpaka. Brahma personally gave him this incredible vehicle. If any of you here are proud of your automobile, whether it be a Hindustani Ambassador or a Maruti Suzuki, or if it's a Ford or a Chevrolet or a Toyota or a Honda or a Mercedes or BMW, you may think you have a nice car, but Pushpaka was really a nice car. If you take a long drive from here to Pune, you're just, God, I want to get out, no matter how good your car is. But Pushpaka, you could go to any planet you want. And while you're going there, if you want, you can walk through a forest, you can take bath in a lake full of lotus flowers. You could play, you could do anything you like. You could live in a palace, you could go to sleep on silken beds. And today, with modern technology, you have these devices where they tell you exactly where you're supposed to go. Yes? This voice comes out and says, at the next corner, turn left. And then you have attained your destination. But what kind of technology compared to Pushpaka? Pushpaka, all you do is think of where you want to go, and it will take you there. You don't even have to put your hand on a steering wheel or a brake or an accelerator. No stoplights, no traffic jams. You just think in your mind, I want to go to Bhaktivedanta Manor. And within seconds you're there. And while you're there, if you're an athlete, you could play cricket on the way. If you're a brahmachari, you could have kirtan with 1,000 brahmacharis. If you like to enjoy life, you men, you could dance with 10,000 apsaras on your way to Bhaktivedanta. Pushpaka, very nice. He was given that. And after Brahma left, Vishrava asked Kuvera asked his father Vishrava, I don't have a place to live. He said, you go to Sri Lanka. Vishwakarma has already built it with gold. So this was the children of Vishrava born of the daughter of Bhardraj, a great sage. Sumali had a daughter named Kaikashi. And he was kind of from a Rakshasa race, but he understood in order for it to sustain and be powerful, there needed to be connection, strong connection to a great Brahminical sage. So he sent his daughter to marry. Somali sent his daughter Kaikashi to marry Vishrava. But when she approached him for a child, it was an inauspicious time. You see, in those days, inauspicious and auspicious was very important because people had such a strong intelligence and such strong will that everything had to be very, very conscious. We had to be aware of each moment, and we had the capacity to do so. In Kali Yuga, this auspicious and inauspicious is not so relevant. In Kali Yuga, the benediction, if you chant the holy names of the Lord, everything becomes auspicious. Inauspicious moments become auspicious if you chant God's name. And just to prove that, an eclipse is considered inauspicious. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his grandfather, Nilambar Chakravarti, he told Sachimata, his daughter, and Jagannath Mishra, that your child, it's already over a year and he's still not born. He's just staying in your womb. This is a divine child who is waiting for the most auspicious possible moment to appear. A lunar eclipse, that's considered inauspicious. But because it's so inauspicious, everyone, in order to counteract the effects, they very urgently cry out the holy names of the Lord. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead considered this is the most auspicious time, because the holy name makes everything the most auspicious. And Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu appeared as the holy name was being chanted in all directions during the lunar eclipse. In Kali Yuga, Srimad Bhagavatam tells us all the problems of this age, quarrel, hypocrisy. But it also explains that the sages worship Kali Yuga as the best of all the ages. Kalerdosanide rajan asti heka mahan guna kirtanat eva krishnasya mukta sangha param braje. Because simply by chanting the names of the Lord, one can attain the supreme perfection of liberation, something that was extremely difficult in the past ages. So because people had such mental, physical capacity, they were responsible for everything they did. So if something was done in an inauspicious time, there would be an inauspicious thing happening. So Vishrava told Kaikashi that because you approached me, you'll have children. But they will be tyrants. They will terrorize society. And she was taken back with suffering to think that she's going to have children like that. Is there something we can do? He said, but your youngest child will be the embodiment of virtue and dharma. So her eldest child was Ravana. As soon as he was born, he had 10 heads. And there was fire coming out of his mouth. And he was evil and cruel when he was still an infant. Can you imagine that? And the next child, Kumbhakarna, I don't know how she fit him in her womb. He was also terrifying. Then she had a daughter named Suparnika. They were atrocious people. And her youngest child was Vibhishan. They went to, all of them, under Ravana, the eldest brother's order. They went to Gokarna to perform tapasya. And when you're performing tapasya, you have to be very, very righteous, religious, and dharmic. You have to be very, very pious in your actions. And Ravana, he was fasting, performing some very, very difficult asana and staying in it constantly. In Hatha Yoga, asana, among some great teachers, if you can hold an asana for a long period of time, that's considered a great accomplishment. Well, these asuras, they would find the most difficult asanas and stay in them for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. He was hardly eating. And every 1,000 years he would cut off one of his heads and offer it to Lord Brahma. And he did this for 9,000 years until he only had one head left. And he was about to offer it, and Brahma came and said, "All right, what do you want?" He said, "I want to be immortal." Brahma said, "I can't give you immortality. That's not within my power." So like Hiranyakashipu, he made conditions that I cannot be killed by any deva, I cannot be killed by any rakshasa, by any naga, by any yaksha, by any gandharva. But he considered it below his integrity to say a human. Because he considered human beings to be like straw. It's like one of you saying, "Give me the boon that I will never be killed by a ant." Of course, these days, ants, they can destroy your whole house. Well, you won't ask for that benediction. It would really make you look foolish. So he didn't. He was immune to every creature within Brahma's creation except humans. And Brahma gave him the benediction, because if you cut off all your heads, you get them back. And if anyone cuts off your heads or hands, they'll come back. It gave him so many powers. Kumbhakarna, Brahma came to him, said, "What benediction do you want?" At that point, the devas had a little istagosti with Brahma. They said, even without benediction, he's conquering the entire universe. He devours everything. If you give him benedictions, everything's finished. So please, consider that. Brahma, by his thoughts, he attracted Saraswati to appear, and she knew exactly what to do. She's the goddess of speech. So Brahma said to Kumbhakarna, "What do you want?" And Saraswati went right on his tongue and moved it. And caused him to say, "I want to go to sleep." So Brahma said, "So be it," and then immediately left. And then Saraswati left, and Kumbhakarna was standing there. He had stood on one foot for thousands of years. And during those thousands of years, during the summer season, he would have 4 blazing fires around him under the sun and not move. During the rainy season, he would kneel down on one leg and just sit there as torrents of rains were falling on him, fasting. During the winter season, he would go to the peaks of the Himalayas and submerge himself in ice-cold rivers up to his neck. And he did it all to get a boon. To go to sleep. he felt totally cheated. Thousands of years I did severe austerities. And out of my mouth in my mind, I was fixed for all those thousands of years on what the benediction I wanted. And I asked to go to sleep and not be disturbed. He understood it was the devas who tricked him. And Suparnika asked for all kinds of benedictions. She could change her form, so many things. And Vibhishan, he also, under the order of Ravana, he's performed tapasya. Severe tapasya. And when he was asked for a benediction from Brahma, the only benediction he asked was, no matter how many difficulties, impediments, temptations, or fears come in my life, bless me that I will never, in my thoughts, in my words, or in my actions, even slightly deviate from the path of pure Dharma. Let my every thought, my every action, and my every word be righteous and pure in the service of God. Lord Brahma granted that benediction. So be it. So they lived together, and Ravana, seeing how his stepbrother Kuvera had such a nice vehicle, the Pushpaka, he was envious, he was competitive. He conquered Kuvera, took his city away, took the Pushpaka away. And Ravana, with the help of Kumbhakarna and Suparnika, was conquering the universes. His eldest son, Indrajit. Meanwhile, as Ravana was terrorizing everyone, everywhere, conquering demigods, and he and Kumbhakarna were not only killing great sages and rishis, they were eating them. Why Vibhishan stayed there in Sri Lanka? And why was he the well-wishing minister of his elder brother Ravana? He was actually totally faithful as far as his duties. It's very inconceivable. The two great epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana, it's interesting. There are several parallels between Vibhishan and Vidura. In the Mahabharata, Vidura was the younger brother of Dhritarashtra, whose son was Duryodhana, who was very much like Indrajit. And even though Dhritarashtra, under the influence of Duryodhana, was persecuting the Pandavas, trying to kill them, cheating them, Vidura was the faithful minister at the side of Dhritarashtra. He was always giving him good advice. He never compromised his advice, but he stayed with him as his minister, faithful, until the point when Duryodhana kicked him out. That's the point when he left. Bhavad-vida bhagavatas tirtha bhuta swayam vibu. Yudhisthira Maharaj said about Vidura that you are a holy place personified. because you carry Krishna in your heart with so much love and devotion, wherever you go, all the holy places are there. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridesharjuna tishtati. Krishna is in everyone's heart. Everyone is carrying Krishna in their heart, wherever they go. So why are we not all holy places of pilgrimage? Vidura, or the great devotees of the Lord, they carry Krishna in their heart with awareness, with consciousness. In one sense, what it really means is not the physical location in the heart. The heart in this sense really means consciousness. Because Vidura and the great souls, they are always remembering Krishna in their heart with love. Always eager to serve Krishna within their heart, with their body, their mind, their words, and their lives. Therefore, Krishna is manifesting through them. And wherever such a person goes is the holiest of all holy places. But yet Vidura was living in the palace of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, when all the schemes and the plans to murder the Pandavas, to exile the Pandavas, to disgrace the good name of the Pandavas, Vidura never ceased to speak according to pure devotional service. But still, he remained the faithful servant of Ravana, of Dhritarashtra, at his side. As did Bhishma, who was one of the Mahajans. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. We're supposed to follow in the footsteps of the Mahajans. But following in the footsteps of someone who takes the side of envious enemies of the devotees? For this we need acharyas to explain what is the essence of Bhishma that we follow in the footsteps of. What was his real spirit? And Krishna revealed all of that in time. Vidura was telling Dhritarashtra, give the Pandavas what they deserve. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is their best friend. You will be destroyed. Your whole family will be destroyed if you follow the influence of Duryodhana. He's the personification of offense. And when Duryodhana heard that, he spoke to Vidura with such cruel words. And in Ramayana, it's very interesting because the same conflict happened between Indrajit and Vibhishan. Vibhishan was always chastising Indrajit. They were always fighting. And ultimately, Duryodhana banished Vidura, and Dhritarashtra said nothing about it. He supported his son. And Ravana banished Vibhishan. Yes, Vibhishan was always on the path of Dharma, like a lotus flower in the muddiest possible pond of water. He was pure. Sri Lanka was the muddiest, most sinful place in creation. Yet he was there. worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead with love and devotion, never deviating from Dharma. And although out of love for his brother, out of his love for Ram, out of his love for humanity and all living beings, he was constantly fighting with his brother about Sita. Send her back. And he was speaking with love, with affection toward his brother. He had no malice, he had no hatred. He was just trying to convince his brother to do the right thing, to protect him. And Ravana and Indrajit, they were so outraged. The point when Ravana finally told Vibhishan, I should kill you. If you weren't my brother, I would kill you. Out from here, I reject you. The point that he said that is when Vibhishan severely chastised Indrajit, Ravana's son. It's a good parallel with Duryodhana and Vidura. Ravana could tolerate Vibhishan's radical dharma and his advice until the point when he really, really blasted against Indrajit, his son. He couldn't tolerate it any longer. That was it. Out from here. And at that point, Vibhishan told Ravana, you're my brother. I respect you and honor as the king of our race. But I cannot be a part of your sin. And at that point, he went to take shelter of Ram. Actually, he had already taken shelter of Ram in his heart of hearts. But what was apparently the worst situation, he saw it as an opportunity to clear all impediments from applying his heart's wish to his life. The worst situation, impediment, is he was being completely hated as an enemy by his older brother, who he dedicated his entire life to try to help. And this is the result. From his heart, he tried to always do what was best for Ravana in the service of Ravana. But because he spoke what Ravana didn't like to hear, he was rejected. What does that mean? His beautiful home, his family, his everything. He had to leave it with nothing. And for Kshatriyas who are living in royalty, this is not an easy thing. But it was a blessing. When Vidura was kicked out of his palace, he considered it a blessing. I've done my duty. Now I'm being rejected. It's Krishna's grace. I could go on pilgrimage. For Vibhishan, he tried his best, and instead of being appreciated for his love, he was hated, considered an enemy, and rejected. And now Vibhishan could follow his heart with no restrictions. His heart belonged to Ram from the beginning, and now he could surrender to him. His body, mind, words, everything, and be on Ram's side. But Krishna, he orchestrates his Leela in a very instructive way. Devotion is not so easy. Here was Vibhishan. He was hated as an enemy. They threatened to kill him if he wasn't a brother. The most horrible, harsh words by Ravana and the entire dynasty of Rakshasas, which was his own family. Then when he came to take shelter of Ram, Sugriva and the monkeys treated him even worse. It's not that there was immediately a festival. Vibhishan said, I want to take shelter of Ram. He said that to Sugriva. And Sugriva went to Ram with Jambavan and others and said, we cannot trust him. We should kill him. He's a Rakshasa. He's the brother of Ravana who stole Sita. He's a minister for all these years. How could we trust him? Just because he had an argument with his brother, some temporary, problem in their relationship. But this man is powerful. He's a Rakshasa. So their advice to Ram was either kill him or tie him up and put him in prison or send him back. But he must be rejected. Sugriva said it. Angada said it. Jambavan, they were all speaking those ways. Nobody trusted him. It's not so easy being a devotee. Because he was a devotee, he was kicked out of his home, rejected by his race. Then he comes to Ram's temple and he's kicked out. And ultimately, he's being blasphemed so bad by the devotees. Ram asked Hanuman, what do you think? Hanumanji said, I saw his face and I heard his words. I see no duplicity in him. He is completely honest. We should immediately accept him as part of our family and love him as a brother. And Ram took sides with Hanuman. And that angered, even not angered exactly, but incited such a reaction from Sugriva and the other leaders. Can't do this. If he's inside, he'll know all our secrets. He'll know everything. And when things come to a certain point, family relations are very, very deep. He's going to turn against us and side with Ravana, his brother. We must tie him up and put him in prison. Ram said, you don't have to fear anything. I will keep him tied up in the prison of my heart. If anyone, even one time, says, my Lord, I take shelter of yours, I am yours, then I will give that person all protection. I will give that person all encouragement forever. I take this solemn vow before all of you. Anyone, even if Ravana came to me today to take shelter, I would accept him as my own and protect him, inspire him for all time to come. Bring Vibhishan to me. And when Vibhishan came before Ram and prostrated his body at the feet of Ram, Ram knows the heart. He wasn't just bowing down. When you bow down before the deity, when you bow down before the Srila Prabhupada's Murti, to a Vaishnava, you should know that that act of bowing is meant to be an expression of what is in our heart. It's not just a ritual. On the path of bhakti, everything we do is an expression of our heart. That is what is meant to be. When we're offering arti, we're not just waving some incense and fire around the deity. We're offering our hearts. It's a meditation. It's a meditation of offering our love through the expression of these articles for arti. When we're dancing in kirtan, it is not just a, Prabhupada would say, a ballroom dance. Of course, in modern ages, Prabhupada was speaking more in those days. People would go to ballrooms. Of course, that place that Prabhupada did was with all those hippies, was the Avalon Ballroom. It's not just a dance. When we're dancing in kirtan, every movement of our body is an expression of our enthusiasm to serve the Lord, to please the Lord. It's an act of devotion in whatever we do. And Krishna sees our heart. So when we bow down, the bowing down is a method which enables us to fix our mind during the time we're bowing down to offering honor, respect, and love before the Lord or His devotees. The act of bowing down is like a regulation or like a ritual that is meant to remind us that we're the servant, to remind us that we should honor and respect the Lord and the great souls and all living beings. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's saying that I bow down to every living being, to all devotees, the Mahatmas and the new devotee who's just coming today, who just likes the taste of prasad. I bow down to all. This is his heart. So when we bow down, the act of bowing down, whether it's full dandavats or on our knees, it's the act of doing that is like a package to help us to focus that I'm offering my honor and respect and my love. And if actually that's our meditation, we become purified. In bhakti, everything is a meditation. Nothing is just a superficial ritual. The acharyas have given us these customs, these acts of culture or etiquette for very deep spiritual purposes of meditation. And the Lord sees the heart. When Vibhishan bowed down, the Lord didn't just see his body prostrated. The Lord saw in his heart he was fully surrendering his life. And Ram had such trust in him immediately. He told Lakshman, get water from the sea, we will coronate him the king of Lanka. And Ram personally coronated him with the water of the sea. They didn't have any crowns in those. They were living in the forest. That came later. But for Ramchandra, that's all that was required. A handful of salt water made him the king of Lanka. Later on, there was a formal ceremony after Ravana departed from this world. But from Ram's perspective, it's the spirit, it's the intent that's all important. Now, the coronation of a king is a very great thing. Anybody, even right here in Bombay, you could just walk 2 blocks and get some salt water. Any one of you could throw some salt water on someone's head. That's all Ram had. That's all Ram did. What anybody could do. But it was a reciprocation of such deep love between them that salt water represented the highest exchange of trust and love between the Lord and his devotee. Yes, Vibhishan, he was so faithful to Ram. He told Ram everything about the army, so many instances. When the army of Ram was in its most difficult states, every time practically, Ram would turn to Vibhishan, and Vibhishan would give him the perfect advice. He was so intelligent. It was interesting because he was giving perfect advice to Ravana too, but Ravana wouldn't listen. Ravana lost his best man. And his enemy Ram got his best man. That was Ravana's ego. Ravana in his heart of hearts knew that Vibhishan was his very best friend, his most loving brother and well-wisher. But his ego was such an inflated state that he was blinded. He was blinded by his ego, and he was further blinded by all the people around him who just told him what he wanted to hear, who just kept infatuating and perpetuating his ego. And Vibhishan told him that. All these people are simply telling you what you want to hear. They are your enemies. He told Indrajit, you are supposed to be his son. You are his greatest enemy. What you are saying to him, you immature fool, is going to destroy him, destroy you, make your mother a widow, and destroy your whole dynasty. Keep your mouth shut, you fool. Ravana didn't like that. Because Indrajit was telling Ravana what he wanted to hear, that he was unconquerable, that Ram was just an insignificant human being. and that he would be victorious. So whether one is Vidura or Vibhishan, real love is to actually speak the truth with compassion, even if it means we're rejected, insulted. And ultimately it was Vibhishan who told Ram exactly the only way Ravana could be killed. And Ram did it, exactly according to Vibhishan's guidance. He killed Ravana. And when Ravana was laying in the battlefield dead, after Mandodari and the queens were beating their chests and weeping and crying as widows, Vibhishan was uncontrollably crying because his brother was dead. Why? Devotees, great devotees, to really understand this culture of bhakti is so deep. If you go to Melkote in South India, there's a place where Prahlad was feeling so guilty because he felt, because of me, my father was killed. And he was really like doing tapasya because he felt so bad. He loved his father, and because of me he was killed. And Narsinghadev appeared to him on the mountain of Yoga Narsingha and told him, it's not because of you. It was because he was a demon and he caused so much harm and so much misery to so many people, and you also. But it's because of all his atrocities he was killed. It's because of you he got liberated. Here is little Prahlad. After all that, the power of forgiveness of a Vaishnava. After all that persecution, hatred, harsh words, Hiranyakashipu considered little 5-year-old Prahlad his worst enemy. And he dedicated his life to killing Prahlad in every way. And still Prahlad, every time he went before his father, he would bow down from his heart. And then, after finally Narsinghadev, it was just enough. When Hiranyakashipu was charging at Prahlad with his own sword to cut his head off, and Prahlad's just standing there, he's not fighting back. The Supreme Lord came out of the pillar, and finally, enough is enough. It was the right timing to honor Brahma's benediction. And after that, when Prahlad is asked for a benediction, please give my father liberation. No vengeance, no no anger, no hatred. He was a well-wisher. And similarly, Vidura, after Dhritarashtra stood there and allowed Duryodhana to speak the most horrible, painful words toward Vidura. The Bhagavatam tells us that the words of Duryodhana were like sharp, flaming arrows into the heart of Vidura. His own nephew is speaking like this. And Dhritarashtra allowed him to do it. Dhritarashtra was fully responsible for Vidura being exiled in the most harsh and cruel way. That you get out from this kingdom and the only thing you're allowed to take with you is your breath. That is cruel to somebody who's been your well-wisher and friend for his whole life, faithfully serving you. But after the battle, what did Vidura do? He went back to Dhritarashtra. He went back to Dhritarashtra, the man who rejected him. The man who engaged in such criminal, horrible activities due to his son's influence. He went back to liberate him. He preached to him, he convinced him to go to the forest, and Vidura went to the forest with him. Vidura went through so much trouble just to help his brother. And because of Vidura, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari was very much like Mandodari. She didn't like any of this stuff either. She was giving Dhritarashtra good advice, but he couldn't listen. But because of Vidura, Dhritarashtra got liberated. Because of Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu got liberated. Because of Haridas Thakur, even the greatest demons who tried to kill him would get liberated. The prostitute who tried to destroy his life, he gave her pure devotional service. And in regard to Vibhishan, he was crying out of love for his brother. Why didn't, he was speaking to the dead corpse of Ravana, why didn't you listen to me? I told you. Mandodari told you. Mandodari's, or your own, my maternal grandfather told you. Everyone was telling you why you did this. He wasn't saying it with hatred. He was saying it with love. Prahlad did the right thing. Vibhishan did the right thing. Vidura did the right thing. And it was very much opposed to the brothers or the father, but it was with love. It was not with hatred. So even when a devotee is misused, the devotee will do the right thing. They may defend, but never with vengeance. Even in Bhagavad Gita, when the war was about to begin, Arjuna looked around and decided just to forgive everyone and go away. Krishna didn't. The whole Bhagavad Gita was not to teach Arjuna to be hateful and vengeful and fight the war. The Bhagavad Gita was to teach Arjuna to be forgiving and compassionate and kind and loving without ego, and fight the war because it's the right thing to do. It's Dharma. And that's the way Prahlad and Vidura and Vibhishan was. And the proof. He cried when his brother was dead. And in today's verse, Ram himself is telling Vibhishan, perform the last rites. And Vibhishan is saying, no, I can't do it. I'm surrendered to you, but I can't do that. He was so evil. He caused such pain to so many people, including Sita, the goddess of my heart. What to speak of everyone else in the universe? I can't do this, the last rites. I love him. He's my brother. I wish only the best for him. But considering the quantity and the quality of his misbehavior, I cannot do it. And Ram told him, we had to battle against his anarthas, but the soul is good in everyone. Now all the anarthas are finished. All that's left is where his soul is going to go. You should love the soul in everyone. We were not fighting against him as a spirit soul. We were fighting against the adharma, the atrocities born of ego and envy that was in his heart. But now those things are slain. Now we should only give love and compassion for the soul. It's very similar to sadhana bhakti. We're fighting against so many of our internal anarthas. Lust, anger, envy, pride, greed, illusion. But when those enemies are slain, what's left? Just the pure soul, part of God. Freed, liberated. So Ram told Vibhishan, should not hate anybody. We may hate and fight against their anarthas, their adharmic, irreligious behavior. But it shouldn't be with hate for them, because he's a pure soul. He's my child. Perform the last rites and free his soul from going to hell for all of his atrocities. Because his soul was destined to be suffering the reactions of everything he's done. But you, Vibhishan, if you perform the last rites, you will liberate him on my behalf. So Ram is the source of this devotee's forgiveness. If here are two people that Ravana mistreated more than anybody. Ram. He was constantly blaspheming Ram. He stole the dearest thing of Ram's heart, his very life and soul, Sita. He stole. Mad bhakta pujavyadika. As we treat a devotee of the Lord, that's how we treat the Lord. If you mistreat the Lord, that is not as disturbing to the Lord as if we mistreat his devotee. Lord Chaitanya, when people mistreated him, he just forgave them and smiled. But when they mistreated his devotees, he would be angry as fire. And who's the dearest, most intimate and loving of all devotees? Sita. Ravana was torturing Sita with the desire to exploit her in the most vulgar, horrible ways. Ravana's mind was fixed 24 hours a day on having the grossest types of sex with Sita. He was cursed that if he ever violates a woman's chastity against her will, his head would crack and he would die. Otherwise, he would have done that. His intention, he would have raped her all day, every day. But he couldn't. So he was emotionally torturing her to get her to do that with him. And when she resisted, he had her surrounded by Rakshashis who were tormenting her practically 24 hours a day. The only friend she had was Vibhishan's wife and daughter, who would come secretly and pacify her. So besides Ravana killing and eating sages and rishis and feeding demigods and all the other atrocities that Ravana did against Krishna's devotees, Ram's devotees, what he did to Sita, the most intimate devotee. And any time the name Ram came up by anybody, he would blaspheme. Just a human, just an insignificant piece of straw. I will destroy him. And yet, when the sins were cleared, Ram, with love toward Ravana, is telling Vibhishan, do the last rites. He should be liberated. He shouldn't suffer for any of his sins. Ram is the example. Hate the sin, but not the sinner. And Vibhishan performed the last rites on Ram's order with love to liberate the soul of Ravana. These stories are very powerful. As Yajnaparusha Prabhu was speaking in his nice class a couple days ago, for me it seems like years ago, because yesterday was at least 10 years. But he was explaining that when we read about Ravana and his atrocities, it's not just something that historically happened long ago. It was that, but it's presented in the scriptures because it's what we have to confront within our own selves and all around us. So this conception, as we were speaking yesterday, of looking for the essence, seeing the soul, seeing the part of God within everyone, and then acting according to Dharma, but with that vision. With compassion, with love. Prahlad totally defied his father with love. He hated everything his father represented, but he loved his father. And Prahlad, he could have ran away from home, but he stayed there. He obediently went to his father's schools. Right? And respected those teachers. And Vidura, he stayed there right in the palace. Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana were planning to burn Kunti Devi and the Pandavas alive in that house of lac. And he's hearing these plans. And he's telling them, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, but they're going against his will. Secretly, Dhritarashtra didn't know. Duryodhana didn't know. If they knew, they probably would have kicked him out long before. He was sending messages to the Pandavas. Leave that house. On this date, they're going to burn it. Build a tunnel underground. But still he stayed. Why didn't he go live with the Pandavas? He would have been happier. Very inconceivable, these great Vaishnavas. He was purely representing Dharma in the most adharmic situation. But he never hated Duryodhana. He never hated Dhritarashtra. He was their well-wisher. Prahlad, Vidura, Vibhishan. Ramanujacharya, that one Pujari at Sri Rangam, hated him. He was envious of him. He was thinking he was getting so much popularity, so much power, he decided he must be killed. He invited Ramanujacharya to his house for lunch, and they put poison in the food. And he was away when Ramanujacharya came, and his wife, who, when she looked at Ramanujacharya, she started to cry. He said, I can't give you this food because there's poison in it. Ramanujacharya was shocked. The head Pujari invited me to his house for lunch, and his wife's telling me there's poison in the food. Pujari comes back. Did you give him the food? She said, I couldn't do it. Stupid woman. So then he knew that Ramanujacharya would take Charanamrit. So he put deadly poison in the Charanamrit. And personally, in the temple, he gave Ramanujacharya poisoned Charanamrit. And Ramanujacharya knew exactly what was happening. He knew that this man just tried to poison him, but he took it anyway. And Ramanujacharya has explained, he was so full of compassion toward this person, even though he knew the guy was poisoning him. He was in ecstasy. And in the ecstasy of compassion and forgiveness for this man, he started trembling. And when the Pujari saw him trembling, he became really happy. Because he was thinking the poison is having its effect. He will die. And then Ramanujacharya, really in ecstasy of that mood of forgiveness and compassion, he went out there to give a lecture. And the Pujari went out to watch him die. And Ramanujacharya was glowing in love with spiritual light. And at that point, the Pujari realized, I'm really a bad person. This man is a saint. And he went over to Ramanujacharya and bowed down to him and surrendered and confessed, I tried to poison you at my home, and I put deadly poison in the Charanamrit that you drank from my own hand. And Ramanujacharya just smiled and said, just do the right thing. And he became his disciple. Ramanuja, as soon as he saw he was liberated from his evil, he loved him and accepted him as his own family, his own disciple. liberated this man. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in Navadvip, so many people were becoming his devotees. But there were a class of people that no matter what he did, they hated him. They were threatened by him. They considered that as long as this Nimai Pandit has power, we're going to lose everything. Because they were getting paid lots of donations for performing all these ritualistic pujas, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling everyone, it's all right, but everything's accomplished if you just chant the holy names. So they were blaspheming him. They were threatening to beat him. They were making all rumors against Srivas and all the devotees. One of the reasons Lord Chaitanya took sannyas was to make those blasphemers devotees. The innocent people, he didn't have to take sannyas. They were already becoming devotees. But to reach those people, he took sannyas. And he said it. Because if I'm a sannyasi, right now they think I'm just one of them, a grihasta, and they're treating me so bad. But if I take sannyas, they'll have to bow down to me. And if they bow down to me, they'll be liberated. How forgiving, how loving. The well-wisher of people who hate him, who are trying to destroy him. And he did. He took sannyas, breaking the heart of his mother, breaking the heart of his wife, breaking the heart of all the devotees, to give benediction to his enemies. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. The Lord has no enemies. He's equal to everyone. And ultimately, he reciprocates according to how we approach him. He wanted them to somehow approach him in a way that he could give them love of God. And this was his method, and it worked. After he took sannyas, even the blasphemers of Navadvip were weeping and crying that Nimai took sannyas and he left Navadvip. And they were all repenting for their offensiveness. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back to Kolhapur, all those people came to him and took shelter. And he gave them all Krishna Prema. So this is Ramayana. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Vaishnavism. This is Mahabharata. Vibhishan, the pious brother of Ravana and devotee of Lord Ramchandra, received approval from Lord Ramchandra, the king of Koshala. Then he performed the prescribed funeral ceremonies for his family members to save them from the path to hell. Maharaj, would you like to speak something? Is there any comments or questions? Prajabihari Prabhu. Tell everyone that cricket story. That was nice.
I should tell that story now, Maharaj?
Yeah, tell the story. We had an event last night. He told his story, and I think it's a stupid enough story so people will like.
Question, Maharaj.
Huh?
A question about today's class.
No, tell the story. Just like you did last night.
when I joined the temple some years back, I was very attracted to cricket. And that time the Cricket World Cup was going on. So I was feeling very distracted and I was feeling guilty that as a brahmachari I should not be attracted to cricket. And I was also feeling guilty and a lot of things are happening inside. So I wanted some relief and to understand better. And fortunately that time Govind Prabhu asked you a question about patriotism, how we feel patriotic. Because that time the India war was also going on, India-Pakistan. So then I felt relieved that he asked that question because I was feeling the same. And you answered by saying that it's bodily consciousness, but still we should be grateful for those who are fighting for the country because they are defending the land and giving us a chance to practice devotional service. Very maturely, very nice answer you gave. So I felt very relieved. And the best icing on the cake was in the end of the answer you said, actually I know nothing about cricket and I never played, never seen, but I still feel very happy when India defeats Pakistan in a cricket match. and then you clarified that you feel so happy when India defeats Pakistan in a cricket match because of Govind Prabhu's association.
Secretly, I am one of you. Yes, you had a question also?
Thank you, Maharaj, for the class. You were mentioning in the class that nothing in bhakti is a ritual. Everything is a meditation. So I wanted to ask this question that
it is a ritual, but the purpose of ritual is to be a meditation.
Meditation, yeah. So at that point I wanted to ask this question that how sometimes, not always, there are those moments in Krishna consciousness when we feel very ecstatic, we feel very humble, we feel grateful, we appreciate all devotees, and we feel fresh. Krishna consciousness is so fresh and wonderful. And there are, most of the time, the experience and the feelings is Krishna consciousness, we feel like dry, mechanical, like ritualistic. We just get the job done, we just chant our rounds. So Maharaj, I wanted to know, we are supposed to be doing sadhana bhakti. What should we do in sadhana bhakti? What should we do by which we can feel that freshness, that humility, that mood that of gratitude? How can we feel that every day? You know, how can we feel Krishna conscious every day?
One thing is to sincerely pray for that consciousness. And two is, however we may feel, we should act with the same enthusiasm as if we did feel, with the prayer to have that feeling. You see, ultimately, it's not about how we feel. It's about how serious we are to please Krishna. And sometimes if you don't feel something, we act as if we do because we're sincere that will please Krishna. And the true feeling, the genuine feeling, comes by the grace of Krishna. At this time, for devotees who are not very advanced, many of our feelings are very affected by our sentiments, by temporary mind states, which can fluctuate. 1 minute we could feel very deeply devotional, and then the next minute we feel regretful or we're meditating on something of the past, or disturbed with something or someone. That's the way the mind is. Tams titiksha svabharata. Krishna says these temporary appearances and disappearances, we should tolerate them. And tolerate them means we do the right thing with the right enthusiasm for the right motive. If you feel no devotion one day, but with your good intelligence and your sincerity, you act, you speak, you do everything with the same enthusiasm or more, because you sincerely want to please Krishna, whether I feel like it or not. Krishna must be pleased. If that's your motive, Krishna may be more pleased when you don't feel anything and you do it to please Him than if you feel everything and you do it to please Him. Anyone could do nice things for people when it makes them feel good. The motive isn't to feel good. The motive is to please Krishna, however I feel. So that is all important, that sincere desire to please Krishna is focused on and acted on in whatever particular state our mind may be in. And by living and serving in that spirit, then Krishna's pleased. Krishna reveals Himself, empowers us according to our sincerity. And that sincerity can be expressed however we may feel, whatever the circumstance may be, both without or within. Does that answer your question? And we should pray for that. And we should do our sadhana to equip us with the power to be like that. And we should associate with devotees who are like that and pray for their blessings and their mercy and serve them so that we can become like that. Sincere. And as far as I know, this class is a little bit over time. So we should end here. Thank you very, very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Radhanath Maharaj ki.